Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. This week we're going to be going over Stormbringer 1 and 2, maybe. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to progress with these. But before we get into that, let's check out some of my own work. I produce a comic called Random Access, and I make this for my patrons for $3 a month. You get a full-size, full-color, 12-page comic book, and you also get a sticker. But you can also check these out at alexanderturbin.com, or you can message me at alexturbin04401 at Instagram. So I guess it's not going to be really a review of the books. Let's go through them first, though. Maybe we'll just go through the first one. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. We'll go through the first one and then maybe skim the second one, and I'll give my thoughts. And also, it's story time, ladies and gentlemen. It's story time today. So back in 1987, young Alex Turbin bought Stormbringer. He went to New York City with his dad, and I was looking for a comic basically that I thought the art wasn't very good and that I could put my hat in the ring to become its new penciler. I was a stupid 16-year-old, and that was my plan because I had newly discovered comics, and I thought that my artwork was progressing really well, and I was an idiot anyway, and a stupid jerk, and basically, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's look into Stormbringer first. Number one, created by Tim Sutton, William Sutton. Sorry, I don't know where I got Tim. Anyway, the writer and artist is William Sutton, and there's also an editor, I guess. And it's August Comics. So it starts out just on a bridge, and I'm not going to go through the art and the story and the writing and everything. I'm just going to kind of go through the book. And on this bridge is Jonathan Stormbringer. Is that his name? Jonathan? I think it is. And soon you realize that he can fly and he has superpowers and he's basically Superman. And this happening at a certain time, and they don't really go into it, but he stops at his girlfriend's house, and he tells her that the government wants him to basically become their Superman. And so they go through this whole thing where they kind of have sex, and it's the sex scene, and they show Ronald Reagan, and they want him to become, like I said, their Superman, and they just kind of give him the whole spiel on how he should be patriotic and do exactly what they say. And so I think this is Air Force One. And they're just kind of deciding or trying to get him to decide to work with them as a government agent. So they go to New Mexico, I think, where they did the bomb. I think, or maybe it's in. I don't know. Maybe they don't actually say where it is. But anyway, they're going to test his powers. So they never explain where he gets his powers, but they show that he can lift so much, 2 million psi, 2 million pounds, pounds per square inch. Is that what psi is? Anyway, and then he's flying around, and he's faster than a jet, and they test his endurance. They drop a bomb on him. So basically, they're just doing all of these different tests, and so they give him a costume, which is the Da Vinci's man with the different anatomical stuff, and this is their lair, I guess, their government lair. And they give him a little microphone to put in his ear so they can contact him and tell him where to go. So they fly. He flies off, and they're basically telling him to go to the Atlantic Fleet and I guess it's in trouble or something. And so he goes to the aircraft carrier, and he goes underwater, and he lifts up a Russian submarine. I think that's supposed to be a Russian submarine. And so he throws it on the aircraft carrier so it's disabled, but he didn't kill any of the inhabitants in the submarine. So then he flies off back home, I guess, to Washington or wherever, and he finds that his girlfriend was taken. So that's how the first issue ends. And here's some pinups and stuff of women that he apparently loves to draw. So there you go. There's Stormbringer number 1. I'm actually going to show you Stormbringer number 2 because that is where my story really kind of comes in. I wrote a letter to Stormbringer, August Comics, Will Sutton, back in 1987 as a 16-year-old, and I am going to read it. I'm not going to go through Stormbringer number 2 because I'd like to go through that actually at another time. But I am going to read you what I wrote to these guys, and I was a complete jerk. So I'm gonna read it, and you can read along with me. I guess it's story time, like I said. Yeah, it says, "Dear Mr. Sutton, I just read your Stormbringer comic, which was pretty good, but I do have some very big complaints both with your writing and about your art. First, your plot moved too fast. Things didn't mingle, and you didn't get much involved in the characters' feelings. They were sort of bland. Second, your art is good, but it doesn't look like you used a ruler in any part of the magazine. Lastly, I calculated the number of panels per page, and it was only 3 panels per page. Too much space, not enough story. Overall, the story is a good one, and the cover art is really great." And I also sent a letter to who I thought was the publisher, editor, or whatever, and it was Mr. Burke. "My name is Alex Trubinsky. I've been collecting comics for 3 years now, and in that time I've been working on my own art, writing, inking, and lettering. I'll get right to the point. I bought your comic Stormbringer the other day, and I know that I can do a better job than that. Sincerely, Alex Trubinsky, Bangor, Maine." And then he wrote back on this. "Well, folks," because I sent a character sketch of one of my own characters. And it said, "Well, folks, to quote Doug Llewellyn of People's Court, you be the judge. We've printed some of Alex's art below. Is it channel number 5 or Pepe Le Pew?" So I guess he was trying to embarrass me because obviously this isn't very good. But this is actually my very first published work. So that's something, I guess, at 16, 1987. So like I said, I was a big jerk. I should have never written that. And it was just one of the stupidest things I've ever done. And it's really, I've thought about it a lot during my life. He actually wrote a letter back, and it basically said, I returning your letter, or I'm writing to you about your letter. I was going to throw it out in the trash, but that would have been as immature as the letter itself. And then he goes on to explain that he publishes the comic on his own, and that the Mr. Burke here, who I wrote to, is 20% of the comic, and that he is the other 80%. So I guess he puts up 80% of the money towards it and stuff. So really, yeah, that was something. I feel like a jerk. I felt like a jerk ever since I wrote that and got it back from him. I guess I didn't think that he would read or get this part of the letter. But really the whole thing was not very cool. And I, at this point, would like to publicly apologize to William Sutton and anybody that has anything to do with the Stormbringer comics. And I hope that he went on to do some really great stuff with his art, and I'm sure he did, because I think his art is really, really awesome. Especially because the second issue, I feel like his art grows in leaps and bounds. It's very Dave McKean-esque, and which I love Dave McKean, and it really grew in leaps and bounds. I think the first one, he had a certain image in his mind. He did a lot of water shades and stuff like that. He had some really great some illustrations and stuff like that. But like I said, I'm not really going to go through it too much because I was such a jerk at the time that I could never say anything negative about his art or the book or anything like that. And I've grown as an artist and as an appreciation for comics and not just your regular Marvel and DC and so hopefully I've grown and I can appreciate what he's doing with the negative space and and the the construction of his panels and his characters and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say about Stormbringer other than I apologize and and that I think he grew into his second issue. I'm hoping that I can get a third issue and maybe four. I think there are four of them, and check those out. But I guess I can't really review the art and writing because I feel that way about what I said originally back in 1987. So I would definitely check it out. I would, if you guys are into any of this kind of indie stuff, power comics, stuff like that, because this is definitely a power comic. It shows a lot of artistic integrity and nuances, and he definitely grows as an artist through each issue. But if you guys are into the power comics, then this is probably a must-have. I would say this is right up there with Tony's stuff and Steve McCardle's power comics. But yeah, I'm going to give this a 10. I'm going to give both of them a 10 out of 10 for writing and art. And I'm just very sorry that I ever wrote that letter. And yeah, so there you go. Thanks for watching. And if you guys like this kind of content, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. And I'll talk to you later. Thanks a lot for watching.